Welcome back, everyone. Still here. Happy Black Friday. Four Coast teams shopping for not only a South State title, but hoping to book that trip to Hattiesburg next week for the state title games. We'll start with a heavyweight bout this evening. Undefeated Hattiesburg heading to take on the Picayune Maroon Tide winner. Heads to the state title. Picayune and the ground game going to strike first. A toss to Darrell Smith. He'll find all the room he needs. He's in for 6, and the Tide would take a 7-0 lead. A little later, tied up by 10. Hattiesburg, little trickeration. The Hub City special. Quarterback Deuce Vance there in the end zone with a receiving touchdown, but the Tide would respond again, this time on the legs of Tristan Cooper, working his way through the contact in for the touchdown. Tide goes up 17-7. But Hattiesburg finding continued success through the air. 3rd and a mile. Vance tosses up a hope and a prayer, and Tristan Keys answers it right before for another touchdown, and then right before the half. Now moving ahead, 1 second left for Picayune. Hattiesburg up by 2. Darrell Smith in at Wildcat. He'll heave up a prayer of his own. Plenty of time back there. That's going to be tipped and caught by Adarius Fortenberry, cruising into the end zone, but a holding call going to negate that and bring it back, and the half would come to an end with Hattiesburg up by 2. This one comes down to the wire, but the Tigers keep that undefeated season alive. They take it 39-35 over the Maroon Tide. They're headed to a Hattiesburg state title game. From one heavyweight bout over to another, familiar foes in Brandon and Ocean Springs. Second time in 3 years these two have faced off in South State. Brandon marches down the field first. They'll cap it off with a 2-yard rushing touchdown from Tyson Robinson. Dogs take a 7-0 lead. Ocean Springs doesn't take long to respond, though. Will Smith caps off the Greyhounds' drive with a trip to the end zone, dives for the pylon. Extra point no good, though, so Brandon would still lead 7-6. Bulldogs on the move once again. Quarterback Sladen Shack finds Quincy Phillips wide open, makes the diving grab. Brandon set up in business. Robinson would cap off that drive with his second touchdown of the first quarter. The Bulldogs would take that 14-6 lead and never really look back from there. Brandon takes it 31-13 over Ocean Springs, and they will take on Tupelo for the 7A title next week. Now staying in Jackson County, but moving over to 5A and Gaucher. The Gators hoping to punch through to the state championship game for the first time ever, but have to get through Brookhaven first. Who better to bring us those highlights than the man who bought a ticket to the Danger Zone on a Black Friday deal, Mr. Will Post.
That sounds like a great time, but speaking of trips, these two teams, like Blake said earlier, fighting for a trip to Hattiesburg between Gaucher and Brookhaven. Brookhaven's taking down 2 of our friends here in Van Cleve and Stone without a problem to get to this game. Gaucher won 2 games by a combined 7 points. But it's all about tonight. Let's head over to Gaucher to see how things go. Panthers going to start with the ball. Their first drive going to be capped off by this Eddie Ratliff run. And when I tell you this man made something out of nothing, blocked over there, cuts his way all the way back into the middle of the field. That's going to set up Brookhaven for the early 7-0 lead. Early Gator chops already towards Gaucher. But on the next Panther drive, tipped off a one Gator in the hands of another. Gabriel Millender with the pick takes it back into Panther territory, and the Gators able to cut into the lead with this field goal right here. Gonna make it 7-3 heading into the second quarter. That's Mr. 5A, Mr. Football, Trey Irving getting involved. He tosses it over the middle and finds Caden Rush. He finds pay dirt. This puts the Gators up 10-7. And Gaucher gonna make their way back on offense. Again, Irving with a quick pitch to Latrell Pogue, and he outruns the Panther defense, makes his way into the end zone, making it 17-7. Brookhaven storms back and makes it an exciting game, but they miss a 22-yard field goal to lose the game. Gators headed to the Rock, 37-35 your final.
First time ever going to the state championship for Gaucher. Huge win for the Gators tonight. Will, thank you so much. Now we're going to take a road trip for our lone road warrior team, and that's the Poplarville Hornets. The Hornets tonight heading up to Forest. Poplarville hoping to make it back to the state title game for the first time since way back in 2020. Ty Keys early on in the Wildcat for Poplarville. He'll push his way through for the early score, bringing the entire defense with him. They go up 7-0. A little later, Javarius Lofton looking and pump fakes and takes it for the touchdown himself to tie everything up at 7 apiece. Forrest on the move again. Another great play fake from Lofton as he surveys the field, eventually finds his receiver in the end zone for another score. But hey, the Poplarville football machine works in Poplarville and it works on the road too. Hornets take it 24-21. They are headed back to that state title game to take on